Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can hear me clearly. So welcome to this webinar on building resilient democratic institutions and processes, the case for inclusive transitions. We're really glad for everyone who's made his or her time to attend to these important sessions. And as you know, all of you, that this session is taking place, this conversation is taking place at a time that we are grappling with the democratic backsliding. We are grappling with the political transitions in many parts of the world. We are grappling with the issues of inclusion, and these issues of inclusion are not just on the physical political marketplace, but also in the digital space. And therefore, we're glad that all of you have managed to attend. We hope that this conversation is going to be useful to everyone, and we hope for a rich discussion from everyone. We have simultaneous translation, interpretation. We have Arabic, Spanish, French, and of course English. A very strong panel of esteemed women speakers who are going to give us some comparative experiences based from their own context. But before we get into the discussion, we'll have Aleda Ferreira, who is the global team leader for democracy and institutions in the digital era, who is just going to have our opening remarks. Then we get into deep dive into the discussions. Welcome, Aleda.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are joining us from around the world. On behalf of UNDP, I'm delighted to welcome you to the first webinar under our flagship initiative, Building Resilient Democratic Institutions and Processes. Today's sessions, titled The Case for Inclusive Participation, marks the beginning of a vital conversation on how we collectively strengthen the democratic resilience through inclusive political engagement. Inclusive participation is not just a principle, it's a necessity. When electoral actors actively remove barriers and engage women, youth, persons with disabilities, they do more than broaden representation. They build trust, they build legitimacy and adaptability on democratic systems. This is especially critical in fragile and transitional contexts where resilience is most needed. In this webinar, we will hear from elected officials, civil society leaders, and electoral management bodies from Lebanon, the Gambia, and Comoros. They will share practical innovations and experience that demonstrate how inclusive participation can be institutionalized to prevent exclusion, reduce conflict risk, and reinforce democratic systems at a time when the systems are increasingly tested by polarization, digital threats, and governance challenges. We are very pleased to welcome both internal and external audiences of UNDP to participate today. Your presence reflects a shared commitment to advance inclusive governance. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to rich and inspiring discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aleda, for just setting the scene for this conversation. And therefore, we're just going to get into the three panelists. We're really pleased to have Joy Rizkala, who is the head of programs at 50/50 organization from Lebanon, working to promote gender equality in public and private life with a special focus on politics. And she's passionate about creating sustainable change, and she collaborates with key stakeholders to drive reforms and ensures increased participation of women and youth in leadership. We're also very pleased to have Honorable Sharifa Abdallah from Comoros, who is a member of parliament in Comoros, who has really been working for many years on women political participation. She's also engaged, for instance, in the past national dialogue in 2017, where she was engage and ensure that women are included in the constitutional review process, and also she's pushing the women's agenda, an inclusive agenda in Parliament, and so we're going to hear more from her. And then also our third panelist is Mariam Ajami, who is from the Gambia, who's the Gender and People with Disability Officer from the Independent Electoral Commission. So we're going to get perspectives from the Electoral Commission in Gambia. She's worked a lot even in the regions, in the regional offices of the Electoral Commission promoting women participation. She is a 2022 Mandela Washington Fellow, and also a unique certified business trainer and a mentor with experience in leadership and entrepreneurship. So we have a range of esteemed women from civil society, from the Electoral Commission, and from Parliament, different institutions which are very key when we are having a conversation about democratic resilience, but also participation, inclusive participation of women, youth, and people with disabilities, and all the other marginalized groups, depending on different contextual experiences that we have. So maybe we'll start with Joy from Lebanon. Joy, you've worked with the 50-50 organization. I think before we even dealt into the work that you've done in inclusive participation, you may want to tell us about the 50-50 organization. What kind of work are you doing because we have a global audience here? And then also you're going to tell us how you've engaged in strengthening or championing for women participation and also participation of youth and other marginalized group in a very difficult context like Lebanon, where culture and all these other factors may impede that participation. But also I think our audience will want to hear, how have you ensured that there's intergenerational conversation to ensure that the question of inclusive participation is not just elitist, women just at the top there, but how is it also being transferred to ensure that even the young women are also, taken on board, and also how you've worked to also strengthen democratic resilience. So over to you, Joy. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you, Aleda, Dalia, and all the UNDP team globally. So I definitely want to introduce myself. Basically, Joey is Allah, and I work in Lebanon. I've been working with 50-50 for the past 5 years. It's a Lebanese NGO that's 12 years old and still going very strong. We work on mainly 3 pillars. The first one is women in politics, and of course, it's empowerment. The second one is women economic empowerment, because while working on our politics pillar, we found that it's impossible for someone to be independently, have an independent political opinion without being financially independent. And thirdly, our youth empowerment pillar. After the crises that Lebanon has been going through for the past 4 or 5 years, and seeing all the young people in our country leave, we decided it was imperative to actually build programs for them to remain in Lebanon and actually use their tools and their expertise in their own country. So that's something I'd love to discuss as well. I have a small presentation that I've prepared, but it's up to you, Robert, to let me know if you'd like me to show it now, or if you'd like the other panelists to introduce themselves first.
No, proceed, then we'll proceed with the others. Please go on.
Perfect. So I'm going to share the presentation if you don't mind. Can everyone see?
No, yes, we can see it.
Perfect. So who is 50-50? So like I said, we have 3 main pillars: the women political empowerment, women economic empowerment, and youth. We work on different levels. First of all, training all over Lebanese regions. We've worked with over 1,600 women towards the local elections, which actually happened last May 2025. And we've worked with over 300 women for the parliamentary elections. We work on awareness across all Lebanese regions as well, because it's not just about changing women's mindset, but it's about also delving into the patriarchal mindsets that we have in Lebanon, and we have a lot of that. Thirdly, we work on policy development and our legal department. We've developed two feminist quotas. Unfortunately, they haven't been endorsed, but I will talk about that more. Something we're very keen on is media partnerships, because all the work that we do needs to be highlighted, whether it's social media or traditional media. And the last pillar that we work on as well is education. So we've been now recently working with schools and universities to create an educational curriculum that's no longer than 20 or 30 minutes to integrate within the curriculums in universities and schools right now. So the quota that we've developed actually in municipalities and the parliament. Why did we need a quota? First of all, Lebanon ranks 173 out of 190 countries in women's participation in the parliament. We only have 6.25%, which is 8 women out of 128 seats, if you can imagine that. On the Arab states, we're ranking 14 out of 17. And if you can see here, it's actually 14 out of 15 because the rest are 0%. In Lebanon, in general, our government, which was formed in the beginning of February, now has 5 women out of 24 ministers. Of course, this was after so much pressure from civil society actors and people that we know inside to actually bring up this percentage. We had 1 minister out of 24 in the last government. It's a small change, but it's step by step. Parliament, as I mentioned, 6.25%, and the municipalities elections, which happened in May 2025, are now at 10.35%, and it's very worthy to note that it was actually at 5% in the past elections, so the increase was by 100%, even though it's still very low at 10. What's the quota that we suggested for Lebanon at the local level? Basically, we have different municipal councils. Each one is made of different members. So some of them, where the mentalities are very, very tough and it's more rural areas and smaller members, we suggested a 30% quota. And for councils that are made up in the city or are way bigger, of 24 members, we had 50%. So we call it the 30-50 quota law. What's super important in Lebanon, and actually I think in all countries, I'm very interested to know in Comoros and the Gambia as well, is the pressure that we have in the lobbying and advocacy strategies that we use. So we lobbied with almost all political parties and eventually got 10 members of the parliament to sign this law for municipalities to actually come into the parliament so they can talk about it in the committees. These are some pictures of our lobbying efforts. So we had to go personally visit every single one of them. We have one which was on Zoom. We, of course, try to go for formal and informal lobbying efforts, depending on the person that we're talking to and their context, of course. These are the political parties that signed with us. And this shows that if they were to endorse our quota, which was 30-50 law, then we'd have 41.9% of women across all of Lebanon in municipal councils. And now we only sit at 10%. Yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I believe you're not saying the messages, but I believe you are talking too fast for the interpretation. If you can kindly just slow down when you're talking. Sorry to interrupt, my dear.
Thank you so much, Gilnan. Thank you. And I'll have the messages right here. Perfect. After figuring out that they were not going to endorse the quota, and it was very last minute when they decided there was going to be municipal elections, we decided to go for an alternative plan. What was this plan? Something called the Salma Agreement. The word Salma in Arabic means Sawa lal Musawit, which is together for equality. And it also has a connotation of a female Arab name. And this agreement was a moral agreement where we decided to sign with municipal leaders just for them to have at least 30% of women on their municipal lists. Of course, with every single effort that we have, we need to have lobbying efforts to advocate for what we're going for. So we also went and had at least 20 meetings with different municipal leaders to encourage them to add this 30% quota on the lists. Again, some were formal meetings and some were informal meetings, as you can see here in Amal. Is my speaking okay? Just to make sure I go on with this rate.
Yeah, I assume it's okay for the interpreters. Go on.
Thank you, Robert. So the Salma Agreement got over 1,000 signatures, different members of the parliament, experts, legal specialists, ministers, and mayor. It was a national momentum, and it was very important right before the municipal elections. These are a few lists that we highlighted on our social media pages, which showed percentage of women on lists. We even have some locations which were very, very far away, like Bekaa in Lebanon, and have very patriarchal mindsets, actually also put at least 27, not 30, but at least there were women on the lists. Now our goal is to work on implementing the parliamentary quota ahead of the 2026 elections next year. And if this doesn't work out, we're definitely taking Salma with us. As part of our pressuring and lobbying efforts, we always have a social media campaign in place because it's the only way to get to as many people as possible, especially with low costs. So what we did was we showed the effect of Salma on social media, posting at least 260 lists that included women, 320 women candidates for municipal and Mukhtar elections. These women, some of them trained with us, most of them were trained with us, and 280 women winners. So we have mayors and we have members of councils. This was the increase that I talked about during the elections. So all of these efforts actually helped in some way. Definitely, the credibility doesn't go directly to 50-50. It goes to 50-50 to the civil society actors on the ground. A big thanks to UNDP and to our other donors who support this cause to actually create this change. And this took at least 9 years. So it's a long way to go, but we need to praise the baby steps as well. Now, for the 2026 elections, this quota was developed in 2021 with 3 experts by the big support of UNDP. And it entails 26 reserved seats for women and 40% on candidacy for electoral lists. What we're working on right now to actually endorse this quota is building bigger coalitions with grassroots NGOs. We already have this in the network, and it's very important to have this because it creates unified messaging on the ground, especially in a country like Lebanon, where you feel like the government lacks a lot and doesn't actually support the country. So you kind of have to take on this responsibility to bring people together to talk about the same goal and the same vision. We will continue our lobbying efforts, of course, with members of the parliament and key stakeholders. And in every single activity that we have, in all projects that we do, we integrate a woman supporting women mindset. So every single woman that is trained under 50-50 has to sign a code of conduct that states that she will, as much as possible, support women at any turn. The importance of donors is I don't know how to stress how important donors are in the context of Lebanon, because as I said, when you lack a state and you lack government, civil society actors are the ones that take the lead. So basically, the donors are extremely important for us. 3 main things that they do. First of all, they lead by example. So donors, of course, probably in the case of the quota, have already endorsed the quota and are pushing towards this in Lebanon because they know of the results and the impact that it has. It creates pressure and a sense of accountability, especially in the context of Lebanon, where members of the parliament don't think of themselves as civil servants. They think of themselves more of an elitist society, and they like the position. So to have someone from international community or donors pressure on them, it's a great tool that we use. And of course, they support in strategic plans and building long-term projects. It's very important to state as well, more importantly on UNDP, the flexibility that they had with us during these projects. So they trusted, basically, we had a very nice partnership. They trust, and because the UNDP that works here with us in Lebanon also has an idea of the context of Lebanon, and we were able to adapt the projects as we go. Some challenges that we face, not all of them, of course. Limited funding. I'm not sure if this happened in all countries, but we've had a cut of funding of at least 50%, which was very, very hard on us. And it's very hard to create impact, especially that we're talking politics and elections. So we can't wait and stop until we get some funding to keep going with the work. We have to keep the momentum going. Second of all, the patriarchal mindsets in Lebanon, which we've been facing more and more actually in more conservative areas and rural areas. The political resistance. We have some political parties in Lebanon that have been around for over 30 plus years. Some members of the parliament have been sitting on those chairs as well for more than 30 years. They're not budging and they're very traditional. Media underrepresentation and the high costs of highlighting women on the media, and the impact of war and crises and the instability of not knowing what's going to happen next in Lebanon. Just a few testimonials I'd like to share with you guys. Dr. Najat Aoun Saliba is currently a member of the parliament. She has trained with 50-50 prior to that. She has also been highlighted in our projects. And she mentioned to us that after one of the awareness sessions, one of the ladies who was with us went to her and told her, she felt so empowered that she went and told her husband, you know what, today you're doing the dishes, and from now on, we split the chores. Not in an aggressive manner, just in a manner to say that I want to take care of different things as well, and not just to take care of the house and to fulfill myself as well. Another candidate is Dima Abu Daya. She first ran for the 2022 parliamentary elections, and she was the first Shiite to run in Shiite woman in her area. Lebanon has too many sects, around 18 or 19 if I'm not mistaken. Her family abandoned her because she decided to run, and they did not support her at all. She didn't care, she kept going. She didn't make it in the parliamentary elections, but then she ran again in May 2025 for the municipal elections, and she's now a municipal council member. Her story is amazing. Another candidate with us is Amani Abu Zainab, who helped a lot during the war and during the relief efforts that we had starting September 2024. And Lina as well, after helping with relief efforts and being on the ground in a very, very affected area in the south, she went to her husband and said, I saw my potential and how I can help people, and I think I need to run for the elections. She did. She ran for the elections. Unfortunately, she didn't make it because the dynamics are very complicated in her region. But she says that her relationship with her husband has gotten even better because she feels like she's gotten the confidence out of her. As next steps, of course, we're going to be trying to endorse the parliamentary quota, develop a targeted advocacy and lobbying plan. Strategic messaging and unified messages are very important. We're going to go for formal and informal advocacy, try to mobilize voters and the public through media, and monitor the policy development. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't take too much time. If anyone has any questions, I'm ready to answer.
Thank you so much, Joy. This is very inspiring. In fact, when you're presenting, I mean, what you've been seeing in the news on Lebanon, you know, with all these conflicts and so on, and through it all, you've demonstrated the resilience that women have been able to overcome in all the challenges that the country is facing in every scale, not just security, but also governance, to be able to present this kind of results. Really, you're giving many of us who are listening a lot of hope. Thank you so much. Now we will.
Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you.
I know there will be more questions coming up. I'm sure, for instance, we'll want to hear how did men also support this kind of process, the he for she, you know, how did you mobilize young people also towards this agenda? We'll want to hear more of that when you come to the discussions. Maybe now let's go to the Gambia in West Africa. We have Mariama Jame. Mariama, are you there? You can see you online. You are muted.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mariama. So, you know, we work very closely with electoral commissions, including the Gambia and many electoral commissions on the continent. And so we're really pleased that we can have someone to speak about gender and people with disability from within EMBs. In fact, there are some electoral commissions on the continent of Africa which don't have even agenda focal point or even agenda policy. And so from you, really, we want to hear the kind of work that the Electoral Commission of Gambia has been doing to promote inclusive participations. And of course, because your portfolio goes beyond just participation on the gender scale, we want to hear about people of disabilities. With disabilities, what kind of initiatives have you been taking in the Gambia? What did you have to overcome, both internally and externally? Because we can't assume that these things and the results take place in a vacuum. You obviously have a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. So take us through from an ENB perspective, the kind of work you've done.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Over to you.
Okay. I think I have to share my screen. Okay, I want to share my screen, but I'm having some difficulty with it.
Mariama, do you have available the green button that says share in the middle?
Yes.
If you click it, it should allow you to.
Okay. Okay, so like you rightly mentioned, I am Mariama Jammeh, Gender and PWD Officer of the IEC. The IEC is the Independent Electoral Commission of the Gambia, and I'm very much honored to be here today. So part of my presentation is here. That's the presentation outline. We have why was the Gender and PWD unit established, structure of the Gender and PWD unit, how IEC Gambia is enhancing gender and PWD inclusion, stakeholder mapping, statistics of women in Gambian politics and elections, and UNDP nationwide trainings. So without much ado, we go into the presentation proper. So why was the gender and PWD unit established? Okay, first of all, the Gender and PWD unit was established to make sure that we facilitate and mainstream gender within the commission, within the IEC, so that gender and PWD is being mainstreamed within the IEC. Equal opportunities are given to both men and women within the IEC. Policies are there that will favor both men and women within the commission. And so inclusivity of gender and PWDs in elections. The Gender and PWD unit is here to also support the participation of marginalized groups, especially the women and PWDs that are in the Gambia here, because we can see a lot of the women in the Gambia are having challenges when it comes to elections, and some of them can even run as candidates during election times. And PWDs are always complaining of accessibility. So that is the main reason why the Gender and PWD is being formed. Ensuring strict adherence to the electoral needs of gender and PWD with the law. So making sure that there is strict adherence to the laws of the Gambia with regards to the PWDs, with regards to women, the youth, and the marginalized groups in the Gambia. Developing inclusive policies and programs that are gender and PWD sensitive and are relevant and responsive to all members of society. So the Gender and PWD unit is here to make sure that there are policies and programs that will address the needs of all genders, the needs of PWDs, the needs of all marginalized groups. We produce programs that will address their challenges, will talk to them and sensitize to them and advocate for policies that will address their needs and issues. Equality and fair representation. We want to make sure that the Gender and PWD unit wants to make sure that there is equal representation of everyone within the Gambia, because so many people are not, seeing themselves being equally represented, like the marginalized groups, the women, the elderly, the PWDs. They don't see themselves equally represented. So that's why the Gender and PWD unit has been established since last year to come and help, to come and make sure that there is equal representation of these marginalized groups so that they can see themselves within the elections. Because elections is not a one-man thing. You have to bring forward everybody. Everybody's hand has to be on the deck. So that is why the Gender and unit is here. PWD unit is here. So the structure of the Gender and PWD unit. We have the Commissioner for Gender, who is the head of the Gender unit. who is overseeing the gender unit, and we have the gender officer who is overseeing the affairs of the gender unit, and the assistant gender officer. But the assistant gender officer has not yet been appointed, but he or she will soon be appointed. And the gender committee, we have the gender committee that comprises of 5 to 6 members that are helping the gender officer in terms of executing her duties. So how IEC Gambia, the Independent Electoral Commission of the Gambia, is enhancing gender and PWD inclusion in elections, creating more polling stations. When you come to the Gambia, in 2016, we had 1,422 polling stations, but currently now in 2021, during the registration, we now have 1,555 polling stations. Those are the number of polling stations we have created, because we've seen that there is a need for us to create more polling stations, because some of the areas, like in the border areas, it is not safe for women or the villagers to move away from their villages and then go all the way to other long polling stations, far away polling stations. It is not something that's very convenient for them. Sometimes they get attacks from thieves that will come and steal all their cattle from them before they come back. So these are some of the challenges that they face. That's why we have made the polling stations really accessible. We have added 133 new polling stations to make it 1,555 polling stations. Easing accessibility for PWDs by locating polling stations in schools. Before, polling stations were in open areas or in places that are not very secured. But now we have made so that the IEC, the EMP of the Gambia, have made so that PWDs get access to schools that even have ramps, because most of the schools now are being built by the MRC Holland Foundation. And with the MRC Holland Foundation, the schools have ramps and the schools are really structured in a way that is PWD friendly. So priority voting for PWDs, lactating mothers, pregnant women, and the elderly. So within the IEC, during elections, we give priority to the PWDs. They do not queue. When they just come, they're given priority to go and vote. Lactating mothers as well are given priority to go and vote without spending much time on the queue because they have children. And pregnant women as well are given priority, and the elderly. Increase in female recruitment. So since the gender unit has been established last year, we have seen an increase in the recruitment of female staff within the IEC, because now the store officer is a woman, the legal clerk is a woman, and the gender and PWD officer, myself, I'm a lady, and we have one commissioner, but we're hoping to work to make sure that we have more commissioners that are also female. Okay, Pillar 2 of the Strategic Plan 2025 to 2029, inclusive participation in the electoral process. Just recently, exactly 2 weeks back, the Independent Electoral Commission of the Gambia has validated its strategic plan from 2025 to 2029. And there is a pillar on just inclusivity, and that is pillar number 2, which is inclusive participation in the electoral process. Because we believe that if any country has to be democratic, for any election to be credible, there must be inclusive participation. Everyone must see yourself in that process. So that is why we have a pillar specifically just for inclusivity, which is inclusive participation of all stakeholders. We don't want to leave anyone behind. We want to see everybody on board, regardless of your gender or your disability. So the gender and PWD unit, we were established since last year, July 1st, and then we went on a stakeholder mapping. And the stakeholder mapping, we went to key stakeholders, you know, are going to be very relevant to our work. And those key stakeholders are the Ministry of Gender. Although we went to the Ministry of Gender, but we could not meet them, but they were some of the key stakeholders that we met, and we are planning to meet them. Federation of the Disabled, we went to the Federation of the Disabled, and we are even planning on partnering with them on some of the programs and activities that we are going to embark on. National Council for Civic Education. The National Council for Civic Education are responsible for civic education within the Gambia. So they are one of our key stakeholders. So we went to them, and we are also partnering. We went to them for a courtesy call, and we also thinking of partnering and collaborating with them in our subsequent events. National Assembly of the Gambia. We wrote to the National Assembly of the Gambia, but unfortunately we could not meet them as of now, but we're also planning to meet them. And the National Police, the Gambia Police Force Gender Unit. As you know, the Gambia Police Force Gender Unit is a very, very vibrant unit in the Gambia, and elections cannot be conducted without security. So that's why we are partnering with the gender unit so that we can learn from them, because they have been here since the 90s. So we can learn a lot from them. They've been doing so many important things in terms of gender within the police. National Youth Council. The National Youth Council, we went to the National Youth Council. As you know, the youths are some of the marginalized people that we have in the country here. And some of them are doing really well when it comes to politics, but you know, they have not been empowered. So that's why we went to the National Youth Council to try and partner with them. The youths are the backbone of every country. So we need the youth's participation in whatever we are doing. So we are thinking of collaborating with them as well. The Inter-Party Committee. The Inter-Party Committee is the committee that, you know, is responsible for all the political parties in the Gambia. We had 19 political parties within the Gambia here, but currently we have 20. We have just recently registered a new political party. So now we have 20 political parties. So the Inter-Party is the committee that is responsible for all the political parties within the Gambia. The Association of Non-Governmental Associations. The Association of Non-Governmental Association is a civil society, is the home of all the civil societies in the Gambia here. It's called Tango. So it is the home of all civil societies within the Gambia here. So we believe if we're doing elections, we need to partner with civil society. We need the help of civil society in order for elections to be credible and in order for elections to be inclusive. That's why we went on a courtesy call to Tango to make sure that we have a partnership with them. We have a good relationship with them. West Africa Network for Peace Building. That is UNDP. UNDP are responsible. They are a civil society group that has been here since 2003. And they've been working on peace building within the Gambia here, and they have done incredible work when it comes to peace building. And we know women are champions of peace building. So that is why we went to UNDP to partner with them, to have a courtesy call and try to work with them.
Mariama, could you wind up in the next 3 minutes to allow more time for discussion, because you have another speaker?
Okay, no problem. Let me wind up. Okay, I'm almost there. So we have the statistics of Gambian women in elections. So the registered voters in the Gambia in 2016, we had 886,578 people that were registered, and 962,157 in 2021. So the percentage of registered voters in 2016 was 53.5%. In 2021, we have 51%. So in 2016, we had 0 female presidential candidate. In 2021 as well, we have no female presidential candidate. The National Assembly of the Gambia, we had only 3 elected members. Out of 53 members, we had only 3 that were elected, and 3 were nominated in 2017. Okay, so that was about 9.6% in 2017 that were in the National Assembly, the females that were in the National Assembly. Then in 2022, we had only 3 National Assembly members that were elected again, and 2 were nominated by the president. So that means we just had 8.6%. Instead of the number rising, now the number is deteriorating. We can see the number of women are not rising in the parliament. Instead, they are deteriorating. Mayors and chairpersons elections in 2018, we just had 1. And that same person is the one that is elected in 2023 again. So there is no improvement in that. So the councillors that we have 120 wards in the Gambia here. We have 120 wards. And out of the 120 wards in 2018, we just have 17 that were elected. And in 2023, just 1 was added. We had only 18. So that means there is a lot of challenges when it comes to women empowerment and having more women stand up as candidates within the Gambia. So if you look at the number of registered voters, 57% are all women, and they queue at polling stations, participate in campaigns and all that. But when it really comes to decision making, they are lacking behind. So with the FW flagship program under the UNDP, we are planning with the UNDP Gambia to make sure that we have 20 trainings. And the 20 trainings are going to be in two folds. We are going to start with 10 first in this August, and then the other 10 in November. So it's going to be in all the election offices across the country. We have 7 regions within the Gambia, but we have 10 electoral offices within the Gambia. So it's going to be held in all those 10 electoral offices. It's going to be in English and local languages to ensure inclusivity, and a sign language interpreter as well will be available to make sure that the PWDs, the deaf and dumb, are not also left out. So not everybody in the Gambia is literate. So the local languages, we are going to use that to ensure that everybody understands what we are saying. Partnering with National Youth Council, National Council for Civic Education. National Council for Civic Education are very, very much, crucial when it comes to, empowering the people, letting them know what is happening, educating the masses on a daily basis. They've been really working hard on that. So that is why we are going to partner with them to make sure that they are part of our team and we are not going to leave anyone behind. So we are going to be addressing the barriers to gender and PWD effective participation, such as access to finance, hate speech, cultural barriers, religious barriers hindering women in elections in the Gambia. On that note, I thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Merci. Thank you so much, Mariama. Very interesting. And the challenges that you've highlighted present the stagnation that you are having. There's been stagnation. You presented us statistics which have shown really that there has been a lot of stagnation. Maybe during the discussions, we will want to hear from you what really should be done differently in the Gambia, because all these years you've presented the statistics on women representation in the elective institutions like parliament and so on, even the municipal level. It's been static, and you've acknowledged it yourself. So we'll want to hear when we have the discussions. And then also, we'll also want to hear from you, what are the cost implications of the special measures? You've talked about increase of polling stations and so on. I mean, you know that electoral commissions are struggling financially throughout the world, including the Gambia. It's tough times. And so at times we also need to balance between the measures that we are taking and, the cost implications. So when you have discussions, please you'll come back and just give some of these perspectives. Now we'll go to Comoros, where we'll now be speaking to the Member of Parliament, Honorable Sharifa Abdallah. Honorable, bienvenue encore à cette séance. Nous sommes ravis de vous avoir dans cette conversation en tant que femme leader. Donc, on peut juste commencer pour les Comores. Je sais que les Comores, vous surmontez beaucoup de défis là-bas. Mais en tant que femme leader, parce que les autres ont parlé, la première intervenante elle est de la société civile, la deuxième elle est de la commission électorale. Vous travaillez, vous êtes leader dans l'Assemblée nationale. Donc, vous pouvez nous parler un peu sur les différentes stratégies que vous avez adoptées pour promouvoir la participation de la femme dans les institutions de leadership. Quels sont les défis que vous avez pu surmonter? Et peut-être, en tant qu'aussi leader, vous pouvez aussi nous parler nous dire quelles sont les stratégies que vous avez exploitées pour se rassurer que aussi les jeunes filles sont aussi impliquées dans le leadership. Comment est-ce que vous les préparez pour le leadership de l'avenir? Quelles sont les réformes que vous êtes en train de mener aux Comores pour se rassurer la participation de la femme et pour se rassurer que le processus politique et électoral sont inclusifs. Bienvenue, honorable. Vous avez la parole.
Bonjour à tous, enchantée de participer à cette plateforme d'échange d'expériences et d'idées. En fait, exactement, je suis élue parlementaire depuis le début de l'année, mais je voudrais faire un petit rappel, un petit particulier pour présenter les Comores. C'est que c'est un pays qui se trouve géographiquement et politiquement en Afrique, mais aussi c'est un pays qui appartient à la Ligue arabe, c'est un pays musulman, et donc c'est un pays avec une population vraiment très, très faible parce que on est 800 000 habitants. Donc, la particularité de notre pays, c'est que bon, nous sommes 3 îles. Nous sommes 4 îles à l'origine, mais la quatrième, elle est encore sous la gouvernance de la France. Donc, sur l'ensemble des 3 îles, nous sommes un même peuple. Nous parlons la même langue, la même religion. Et nos valeurs sociales sont très ancrées sur la sociabilité, c'est-à-dire que tout tourne autour de la société. Il n'y a pas d'activité, il n'y a pas d'action qui soit isolée, qui ne soit pas incluse, que ce soit politiquement, stratégiquement ou économiquement, qui ne soit incluse dans la société comorienne. Et pour ce qui est de la femme, elle occupe une place un peu particulière par rapport à son origine de pays africain, mais aussi par rapport à son appartenance au monde musulman. Parce que nous avons des règles coutumières qui se différencient de celles des pays arabes musulmans. Et surtout, notre vie sociale tourne autour de la valorisation de la femme. La femme comorienne, à l'origine, elle est la garante du passage des traditions, elle est la garante familiale, elle est la garante et principale héritière des biens de la famille. Et aussi, la femme comorienne, euh, différemment des autres femmes musulmanes, c'est elle qui reçoit l'homme chez elle. Ça a un sens vraiment assez particulier chez nous parce que nous sommes une société matriarcale. La femme, elle est défendue sur plusieurs plans qui sont vraiment extraits, qui sont en parallèle avec la loi musulmane, mais qui sont en faveur de la femme comorienne. En matière d'héritage, c'est la femme comorienne qui hérite parce qu'il est supposé que c'est elle qui est la garante de la tradition et de la transmission des valeurs et des biens familiales. Donc, tout presque tourne autour de la femme. Alors, la participation de la femme au sein des activités, elle est multiple. Dans les associations de développement, les associations communautaires, dans les associations professionnelles ou dans les groupements professionnels. Et donc, il y a un lead qui est spontané, qui se crée à partir de tout ça. Le fait de valoriser, de donner un certain nombre de droits acquis à la femme comorienne, ça donne une position de lead spontanée, ne serait-ce que vis-à-vis de ses consoeurs. Alors maintenant, sur l'aspect politique, il faut dire qu'il n'y a pas vraiment eu, jusqu'à présent, une histoire politique sur la femme comorienne. Dans le temps, dans notre histoire, il y a eu une femme qui a régné sur l'île de Moélie, mais après, euh, la femme comorienne n'était pas très, très impliquée politiquement parlant. Elle jouait un second rôle, un rôle participatif, mais pas au sein de la tête de la sphère politique, au sein des partis politiques, par exemple. Toutefois, dans les organisations, dans les entreprises, elle a une place bien acquise, sans conteste, mais je dirais que le premier défi, c'est de parvenir au poste lui-même, sachant que nous aux Comores, capacité égale, salaire égal. Il n'y a pas de distinction de salaire de femme par rapport à un salaire d'homme. Le salaire, il est le même du moment qu'on occupe un poste bien déterminé. Maintenant, le défi, c'est d'aller vers le poste. Parce que le combat, dans notre tradition, la femme, elle restait à la maison. Maintenant, les femmes, elles sont instruites. Nous avons des femmes médecins, nous avons des femmes avocates, des femmes présidentes de plusieurs institutions. Et là-dessus, il y a quand même une étape, il y a une étape clé qu'il faut essayer de franchir, peu importe l'appartenance d'origine. On peut être une femme rurale comme on peut être une femme urbaine, instruite ou pas, mais accéder à une catégorie de postes qui tendrait vers la politique, c'est un peu difficile. La première femme que nous comptons qui était élue parlementaire, elle est, je dirais, assez jeune maintenant, parce que déjà le pays il est un peu jeune. La première femme ministre, c'est l'actuelle présidente de la Commission nationale des droits de l'homme. Donc, c'est pour dire que nous n'avons pas vraiment une histoire politique sur la femme comorienne. Mais la femme comorienne, elle participe dans toutes les activités, tout en gardant une position, un second plan, mais pas vraiment au premier plan. Maintenant, il y a eu quand même des actions d'envergure, de sensibilisation, parce que d'un autre côté aussi, au niveau de l'éducation nationale, nous n'avons pas de différenciation entre entre la fille et le garçon. C'est des écoles mixtes, les collèges comme les universités, tout est mixte. Donc, on a donné l'égalité de chance à l'enfant comorien et à la femme comorienne de pouvoir accéder à l'instruction. Maintenant, l'obstacle, c'est que dans certains milieux ruraux, on préfère privilégier le garçon. La préférence, elle est beaucoup plus familiale qu'à l'échelle communautaire. Parce qu'au niveau de communauté, il y a les écoles, il y a les centres de formation, il n'y a pas d'interdiction sexiste, mais le challenge que nous avons, c'est de sensibiliser de plus en plus, en particulier dans les environnements ruraux, de pouvoir laisser les enfants fréquenter l'école sur le même pied d'égalité. Parce que pour certains, les filles peuvent s'arrêter au collège, ce n'est pas choquant. Donc, le défi pour nous, qui sommes un peu plus au-devant de la scène, c'est de ramener toute la population à intégrer le fait que l'enfant doit être instruit, peu importe le sexe, pour que on commence déjà une préparation vers des leads qui pourraient aboutir à des leads politiques. Sur le plan de la gouvernance aux Comores, nous avons un gouvernement de 15 portefeuilles de ministres, avec 2 ministres femmes, la ministre chargée de la promotion du genre et la ministre des Transports aériens et maritimes. Donc, on est loin sur la parité, mais quand même, il y a une participation. Elle est faible, mais pour un début, on a encore du chemin à faire par rapport à ça. Sur d'autres sphères, comme j'ai dit, nous avons la femme présidente de la Commission nationale des droits de l'homme. Elle a fait un cursus politique très remarquable jusqu'à maintenant. Elle était élue parlementaire, elle était ministre et maintenant elle est présidente de la Commission nationale des droits de l'homme. C'est une référence pour beaucoup de jeunes femmes comoriennes parce que ces femmes-là qui étaient leaders il y a quelques années, elles n'ont pas baissé la garde, elles continuent à être actives dans plusieurs institutions, sur les plateformes des femmes politiques en Afrique, sur plusieurs plateformes qui ont des objectifs communs, que ce soit de développement ou politique ou stratégique, peu importe le domaine. Nous avons eu au dernier mandat présidentiel, nous avons eu une gouverneure sur, voilà, sur les 3 îles, nous avons eu une gouverneure qui était la gouverneure de la grande île, qui s'appelle la Grande Comore. Maintenant, elle est remplacée parce qu'il y a eu les nouvelles élections en fin d'année 2024. Elle est remplacée par un homme. Mais maintenant, nous avons une gouverneure sur une des 2 autres îles restantes. Donc, c'est pour montrer que, parce que par rapport à la composition de la gouvernance, il y a bien sûr le président de la République avec le gouvernement et toute la sphère gouvernementale, mais au niveau de chaque île, il y a un gouverneur qui, voilà, qui est élu et qui gouverne, bien sûr, sous la politique générale du pays. Donc, de ce côté-là, la représentation, elle est appréciable à mon niveau parce qu'elle est en progression. Et surtout, nous avons maintenant au niveau parlementaire, au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale, nous sommes 6 femmes élues parlementaires sur 34 députés. C'est en progression parce que la dernière législature, celle qui précède la nôtre maintenant, il n'y avait que 4 femmes, donc 3 ou 4 je pense. Passer à 6, c'est encore une progression. Nous avons un long chemin à faire et surtout ce chemin, c'est des actions de sensibilisation, de communication, de vulgarisation du fait politique. Sensibiliser et informer aux femmes, aux filles que la politique, ce n'est pas quelque chose à part et le développement du pays une autre chose. C'est un ensemble de cursus qui convergent vers un seul objectif, le développement du pays. Il n'y a pas de développement avec une barrière politique. Donc, de ce côté-là, le défi, c'est de sensibiliser, c'est d'organiser des actions d'encouragement sur les associations féminines, parce qu'il y a beaucoup d'associations féminines. Ça peut être des associations religieuses, des associations de développement, des associations communautaires de développement, des associations par métier. Par exemple, le groupement des femmes agricultrices, des femmes commerçantes et tout ça. Leur montrer que le pont devait être réduit entre la sphère politique et la sphère développement. Parce que c'est ce pont qui n'a pas été vraiment exploité dans l'origine et dans l'histoire de notre pays. Pour revenir aussi au niveau de la gouvernance aux Comores, nous avons plusieurs femmes commissaires nationales. Nous avons la commissaire générale au plan, nous avons la commissaire nationale à la solidarité, à la protection sociale et à la promotion du genre. Nous avons aussi la commissaire nationale aux foires et aux expositions. C'est des postes à position très élevée, presque, je dirais, presque pas rang de ministre, mais pas loin. Donc, mais qui montrent qu'on responsabilise et on attend aussi des résultats auprès de ces femmes. Maintenant, le vrai challenge par rapport à toutes ces femmes, c'est que nous ne sommes pas nombreuses sur la sphère politique. Nous appartenons à la plateforme des femmes politiques en Afrique. Nous sommes à peu près moins de 200 personnes, mais par rapport à l'étendue de notre pays, c'est pas négligeable, mais c'est aussi encourageant parce que les actions d'information, de communication pour intéresser les autres, ce sont des actions qui se font de manière continue. S'il y a des activités, on essaie d'inclure toutes les formes d'organisation à l'échelle nationale pour que chacune participe par rapport à son secteur. Il n'existe pas de barrière de secteur aux Comores. Si il y a des colloques, des séminaires, des conférences, tout le monde peut participer et aussi nous facilitons cela parce que on permet à chacun de s'exprimer dans la langue qui lui convient ou dans la langue dont elle a une facilité. Donc, une femme qui appartient à une association civile peut participer à un débat plus ou moins politique parce qu'elle a sa part de contribution, elle a sa part de représentativité par rapport au groupement dont elle appartient, mais aussi c'est parce que il n'y a pas d'action politique qui ne sollicite l'engagement des femmes. Tout politicien qui prétend à concourir, à être candidat dans des élections, il se rapproche de la communauté des femmes parce que les femmes au Comores, elles sont très fortes dans ce genre d'activité. Elles n'occupent pas les postes de la haute sphère, mais en matière d'action, pour, euh, pour sensibiliser, pour faire la propagande, elles sont très fortes. La femme comorienne, elle est très forte là-dessus, mais elle n'a jamais atteint la sphère du haut niveau. Moi, je peux dire maintenant que sur l'ensemble des partis politiques qui sont actuellement aux Comores, euh, on ne compte pas vraiment de femmes dans les bureaux nationaux de ces partis. Il y a une femme au sein du bureau national du parti au pouvoir, euh, qui est membre du bureau national. Tout cela pour encourager, pour montrer que cette barrière peut être cassée grâce à une forte implication, mais aussi en organisant des séances d'intéressement, des séances je dirais, pour casser cette barrière. Euh, Lorsque il y a eu les élections et législatives et municipales, les dernières élections dans lesquelles je suis élue, le programme des Nations Unies pour le développement avait organisé un atelier de formation, ça c'est un exemple que je donne, en invitant les candidates. Ça s'est très bien passé, mais ce que moi j'ai donné comme appréciation, c'est que ce genre d'action devrait être étalé dans le temps pour créer l'intéressement de la jeune femme pour qu'elle voit que la barrière finalement, elle n'existe pas, qu'elle s'intéresse à occuper un poste politique tout naturellement. Il est bien évident que les rares femmes qui occupent ces postes, elles restent toujours sur la défensive du combat parce que ça peut être comme un élément un petit peu nouveau du fait que traditionnellement, les femmes n'occupaient pas ces postes. Donc, venir les occuper maintenant et continuer massivement à progresser, bien sûr, ça crée des rejets, ça crée des obstacles au sein des hommes, pas tous, fort heureusement, mais cela fait que à chaque responsabilité qui est confiée à une femme, ça devient un défi, ça devient un combat. Un combat pour se maintenir au poste, un combat pour montrer que elle a aussi les aptitudes et les capacités d'occuper le poste. Et elle a aussi sa part de contribution, mais cela ne veut pas dire qu'elle enfreint aux règles sociales, aux règles de nos coutumes, de nos usages, de nos traditions. On arrive à faire la part des choses entre ce qui est développement politique par rapport à ce qui est tradition, coutume, qui sont vraiment des règles très, très fortes dans la société comorienne. Euh, Moi, je dirais qu'au niveau des villes, la femme, elle est de plus en plus acceptée politiquement. le combat, il reste encore au niveau des milieux ruraux, mais on ne baisse pas les bras parce que dans toutes les occasions, les représentations des femmes par les groupements ou les associations, on trouve toujours le lien pour intéresser les femmes à, à prendre le lead dans leurs associations, parce que ça aussi, c'est une condition qui permet d'accéder au lead politique. On ne devient pas leader politique ou leader dans la sphère politique subitement. Il y a tout un parcours qui se construit et ce parcours, il est influencé socialement. On respecte certaines règles pour être accepté par la société. Et là, la légitimité, elle devient fluide pour pouvoir accéder à la sphère politique.
Nora, vous pouvez un peu prendre, peut-être dans une minute, vous pouvez terminer.
Pardon?
Vous pouvez terminer dans une minute, comme
Oui,
ça on
oui, oui.
passe.
Alors, les actions que nous faisons, c'est des actions de sensibilisation, que ce soit dans dans les milieux scolaires, les milieux universitaires. D'abord, d'encourager aux enfants, d'encourager les familles à la scolarisation des enfants, beaucoup plus à la scolarisation, et aussi à la formation professionnelle, tout métier confondu, parce que quelque part, garantir une certaine autonomie matérielle à la femme, c'est lui donner une part de cette personnalité de lead qui doit se construire. Voilà. Donc, il y a des éléments intrants qui viennent de la personne elle-même. Donc, on aide au niveau de l'éducation, au niveau des associations de développement, mais aussi, on rappelle que ce n'est pas parce qu'on s'intéresse à la politique qu'on est en train d'enfreindre les lois coutumières et tout ça. On essaie de combiner tout ça pour faire créer des personnalités qui peuvent aller à terme vers des leads politiques, vers des leads de développement ou vers des leads qui peuvent appartenir à la sphère du gouvernement ou intéressés, par exemple, à créer beaucoup plus d'intéressement sur les prochaines élections législatives ou municipales, créer ce lien, montrer, vulgariser, montrer que ce n'est pas du tabou, c'est à la portée de tous, mais il faut bien préparer, il faut bien se préparer, il faut avoir un bagage social, il faut avoir un bagage de développement de soi-même. Comme ça, à partir de là, on n'est pas rejeté politiquement. Donc, la femme politique comorienne, elle a sa place, de toute évidence. Certes, le chemin est un peu long, mais elle a sa place sur la sphère politique comorienne. Voilà.
Merci beaucoup, honorable. Vous avez présenté une situation un peu complexe sur la situation de la femme et sa participation dans la vie politique et publique. Et je pense, au cours de la discussion, on voudrait aussi savoir quelles sont les actions au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale que vous pouvez mener, par exemple, pour garantir la participation de la femme, par exemple, au niveau de politique, les différentes lois. Vous avez dit que, par exemple, il y a seulement 6 femmes députées. Et
Oui.
peut-être si on avait un système de quotas, euh, ça allait rassurer la participation des députés, des femmes députées, quoi. Et donc, je pense que ça aussi, ça sera très important pour nous pour savoir quelles sont les actions que vous pouvez mener pour surmonter ça. Peut-être aussi, on pourrait être intéressé pour savoir comment vous avez exploité les plateformes numériques pour promouvoir la participation des femmes parce que le monde actuel a beaucoup changé, a beaucoup évolué. Donc, les plateformes numériques sont aussi des mécanismes se rassurer ou pour promouvoir la participation de la femme, comme ce qu'on a vu du Liban. Joy nous a dit ça. Donc, je pense qu'on pourrait apprendre de cas d'études de comment.
Oui, au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale, il y a eu une loi, elle a été votée, ça s'appelle la loi Hadjira. Malheureusement, elle n'est pas encore promulguée. Là, cette loi, elle garantit l'équité et la participation au tiers sur le genre. En fait, elle n'a pas fait de distinction particulièrement sur la femme. Sur une représentation de trois places, euh, il faut qu'il y ait ou un tiers homme ou un tiers femme. Donc, elle a parlé du genre. C'est une loi qui a parcouru beaucoup d'aspects parce que c'est surtout sur la protection des droits de la femme, des droits de l'enfant. Il y a eu beaucoup d'avancées en ce sens. Et nous espérons que dans cette législature, cette loi sera promulguée. Quand bien même, et les actions en elles-mêmes, elles vont dans le sens de l'application de cette loi. En fait, ce que je disais au début, c'est que l'intéressement lui-même, on ne le sentait pas avant. Ça vient de plus en plus. C'est pas qu'on avait donné une limite au nombre, au contraire, on aurait souhaité être dans la parité, être sur 34 députés, être 11 femmes. Mais ce n'est pas du refus, mais c'est qu'il n'y a pas eu l'intéressement au départ. Il n'y a pas eu les actions pour intéresser les gens, il n'y a pas eu les actions pour pousser les femmes à être candidates. Et donc, parmi les actions phares que nous nous sommes convenus, nous, de mener, de sensibiliser longuement, c'est justement de montrer pour pouvoir rallier le plus de femmes, le plus d'éventuels candidats pour les prochaines élections. Et donc, nous avons tout ce temps pour engager ces actions. Vous parlez des plateformes numériques. Et exactement, la promotion de ces plateformes, elle se développe de plus en plus dans notre pays. Il y a plusieurs ateliers qui se font sur ça, plusieurs structures d'encouragement d'accès à ces plateformes numériques. Surtout, ce sont des actions menées au niveau des universités parce que c'est la base, la jeunesse, c'est la base. C'est elle qui est de plus en plus impliquée sur ces plateformes numériques. Donc, plusieurs actions sont menées par les structures qui interviennent sur les pôles et la sphère du numérique commun entre l'Agence nationale du développement du numérique. Il y a plusieurs autres pôles qui sont dans le développement du numérique et qui, qui organisent euh, vraiment de manière continue des actions pour intéresser les jeunes, pour intéresser les femmes à s'impliquer de plus en plus dans ce monde de la sphère numérique parce que nous sommes tous conscients que c'est la base. Une bonne partie des actions de la campagne, des campagnes, des élections qui se sont passées, elles sont passées par les sphères, comment je dirais, les plateformes numériques. Voilà, parce que c'est le monde qui est conditionné comme ça. On ne peut pas ignorer la sphère des plateformes numériques parce qu'elle est en train de prendre la place de tout ce qui est dans la vie quotidienne, hein, de tout ce qui est dans la vie professionnelle, dans la vie au sein de la famille, en milieu professionnel comme en milieu politique. Donc, les actions, c'est ça, c'est d'encourager. Nous avons les 5 années là à préparer une bonne participation. Bon, on verra le résultat à l'échéance de notre mandature. Comment nous aurons réussi à rallier pour atteindre le quota de 30% de représentation de la femme au sein des sphères politique, que ce soit au niveau de l'Assemblée nationale, que ce soit au niveau des représentations municipales. C'est un challenge pour nous. Voilà.
Ouais, merci. Merci beaucoup, Honorable. Thank you.
Merci.
So really, this has been quite a rich discussion. I see some colleagues have posted some questions online. Dauda Kulibali, you posted something about Comor, about why it's very difficult for women to participate in positions. I think that has already been addressed when she presented later. I can't see a question that is addressed to Joy, but Joy, remember, I'd also asked earlier that you may want to speak about how men are really supporting the initiative for the 50-50, because you just gave us a broad strategies and so on. We want also to hear about how you reached out to young people to be part of this or also be represented, and then how have you dealt with security, really, because it's a major issue in Lebanon. You may want to tell us more about that. If there's anyone who has a question to Joy, just post it on the group. And then Mariama, it's interesting that someone posted that just this week, there was Parliament rejected a law on Monday this week about, the quota system. That's so sad. It's so sad that we're having this conversation just after this kind of rejection. It means that there's just much more work to do, especially that you presented to us statistics that have just shown the constant kind of, representation in Parliament. But remember the question that I asked earlier, how you're balancing about the special measures and the cost of participation. Maybe you could just respond to that. Joy, could we start with you? Just because of time, you just take 2 minutes. Don't talk too fast. I know you took too fast for interpretation. Don't talk too fast, but just give us in 2 minutes.
I will try my best. It's an issue I've been facing since I was very young. First of all, thank you so much for this panel. Honestly, I feel very honored to be with these wonderful women. If I was living in their countries, I would honestly feel very lucky to have these women in their positions. So thank you so much for this and for all the efforts that you're putting on the ground. I know how hard it is. We live this reality every single day. And for the law that hasn't passed, Mariama, just give it some time. It will eventually pass. No one's going anywhere, and we will eventually do it. So regarding the questions, there was one in the chat that says, based on the religious context in Lebanon, etc. So one of two challenges actually is the safety, like you mentioned, Robert, and at the same time, it is the religious context in Lebanon. So we have 18 or 19 different religious sects, and the issue in Lebanon is that the political parties are mainly based on this aspect. So when it comes to women's political representation, we have to see in the context of religion how these men in power actually see the role of women in their daily lives. It has been definitely a challenge, but what we do is that every time we go to lobby or advocate for a gender quota or more representation of women, we take that into consideration, and the messaging towards these people is different depending on the context. So whether we're dealing with extremist Christians or extremist Muslims, because we have both in Lebanon, we take it in their own context. This is why it's very hard, but it's the only way to relate with these key stakeholders. Now, men supporters are extremely important. 50-50, 12 years ago, 13 actually, was called Women in Front. It changed it to 50-50 in 2018 to reflect the men supporters on board with us. And what's very important about men supporters is that men listen to men more than women. They take this cause more seriously when it comes from a male counterpart. So having men as media anchors, having men supporters in political parties, whether these political parties want to endorse the quota or not, is also very important. And having them by our side to talk about this narrative while lobbying is also very important. What we usually do within our lobbying efforts is that we take a male figure who is very close to the main leader of the political party, so that that leader can actually break the ice with us and can understand that our connections are close to his connections, and so the conversation can go into a deeper level and not remain surfaced. As for youth, and I won't take too long, Robert, we've created a network of over 150 young Lebanese between the ages of 18 and 25. And these youngsters, most of them are going to want to run for the 2026 parliamentary elections. Hopefully, we tackle different projects with them, whether it's civic engagement, political knowledge, hot topics, public speaking, or even leadership skills, and trying to bring them in with us and gain their trust to be able for them to be empowered to actually enter the political sphere in Lebanon. I hope I've answered everyone's questions. If there are any more, please feel free.
Thank you so much. Mariama?
Okay, thank you very much, George, Robert. Okay, you were talking about how we are balancing the budget for the polling stations. Well, 95% of our polling stations, 95% of the election budget is being funded by the government, because we have a lot of back and forth when it comes to the budget. They always complain that the budget is very, very high. But elections are very, very expensive. So we cannot also cut down the cost. And these are necessities, because these are people that, we have to include them. We cannot just disenfranchise someone because the election is very, very expensive. We get some funding from, like 5% funding from donors, but it's mostly in kind, like T-shirts, trainings, and all that. But when it comes to the real budget, 95% of it is being funded by the government. Yes.
Yeah, but and what should be done differently, do you think? Because I think Joy gave us an example of what they decided to do differently in order to ensure that they can ensure that they can enhance participation of women in all these institutions. With the challenges that you've presented, what do you think, in your own view, should be done differently in the Gambia?
Okay, I believe we should do a lot of capacity building trainings to change the mindset of the people. Because, the Gambia is a religious country, and we believe that men should be the ones, being in the forefront, seen in the political space, being the leaders. So that's the misconception that most people have. Even as a lady, if you want to stand up and contest, your family will be the first people to say that you cannot contest. They'll be the first people, challenging you not to contest. And we've seen a lot of hate speech on women about their identities. Perhaps you want to be a candidate or a president, and you just cut off your hair and you come. So the Gambia is 95% Muslims. So some people might not see it in a good way. They might not want to even, allow you to contest in such situations. So I believe community outreach are some of the things that we can do to change the mindset of the people. And we're even about to start some of those things. And campaign financing as well. Campaign financing should be done for women to at least entice them to come forward. Because some of the women want to come forward, but they will tell you, I have the confidence, I have the people, but I don't have the money to go. And we all know that campaigns are really, really expensive. So if you want to be a candidate, you must have the financial backing. And if you don't have the financial backing, you cannot do some of the things that you want to do. And some of the political parties, majority of the political parties too in the Gambia, we've seen them, putting women, most of the women are not at the top in those political parties, and that's where the candidates are being chosen. So if the women are not on top in those candidates, if they don't choose women as their candidates in winnable positions, I don't think women can also go forward, because majority of the people that are within those political parties are women. But when it comes to choosing candidates, even if a woman wants to go, they know that you're capable. But men will come and say, no, let's allow this man to go, and they will go and even talk to your family to talk you out of it, so that you will not even contest. So these are some of the challenges that women are facing in the Gambia here, and we need to really change the mindset. Let them put women in winnable positions, and even the quota systems. Like someone wrote on the comments that our constitution, that is our national constitution, it has just been rejected on Monday, and that's a very big blow on us. But And we still hope that it will bounce back again. Joey, thank you very much for the encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Maybe for Honorable Sharifa, honorable, il y a au Comores, il y a quelqu'un qui a posé une question dans la plateforme, dans le chat. Quelqu'un a dit que les Comores représentent un paradoxe. Un paradoxe, c'est-à-dire la société comorienne, c'est qualifié comme une société matriarcale, mais en même temps, on voit la participation des femmes qui est très, très, très faible. Comment est-ce qu'on peut comprendre ce paradoxe? C'est le paradoxe que quelqu'un a présenté dans le chat. Honorable, vous êtes là?
Je suis là.
Oui, oui.
Oui,
Oui, il y a un paradoxe que nous voudrions comprendre.
oui. En fait, il est vrai ce paradoxe parce que quand j'ai parlé de la société matrie, c'est une garantie traditionnelle qui est préservée jusqu'à maintenant. La femme, c'est vrai, tout tourne autour d'elle. Je dirais même que toutes les rencontres, les réunions, des grandes réunions familiales, elles se font au sein de la famille de la mère. Si ce n'est pas la mère, de la sœur aînée. Voilà, c'est comme ça que ça se passe, en tout cas chez la femme. L'honneur des hommes de la famille, il est gagné par les femmes de cette famille. Donc ça, c'est le côté traditionnel, le côté coutumier. Quand bien même, les hommes, ils avaient gardé et ils ont gardé leur esprit de ceux qui cherchent plus la richesse pour la ramener au sein de la famille. Donc, je dirais que à l'origine, c'est ça, et qui a créé ce paradoxe, le fait que maintenant, la femme ne reste pas passive pour hériter, pour être une gardienne de toutes les valeurs de la famille, elle devient active. Elle devient active parce que elle est passée au stade d'instruction, stade de scolarisation. Maintenant, je n'ai pas une idée en tête sur le taux de scolarisation, mais il est très, 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 très élevé. Il a dépassé les 60%. Le taux de qualification aussi, le taux de qualification, surtout universitaire, il devient de plus en plus fort pour les femmes par rapport aux hommes. Donc, tout naturellement, il y a ce chemin qui est en train de se créer parce qu'une personne qui est instruite, une personne qui a su développer une personnalité forte autour de plusieurs valeurs, tout naturellement, elle peut prendre un lead. Et donc, c'est ce lead qui n'était pas préparé dans nos us et coutumes, mais qui vient de s'affirmer. Ça pourrait être là l'origine du rejet parce que l'homme comorien, il pense que, bon, la femme, elle reste à la maison, on lui donne tout. Elle gère tout, mais on lui donne. C'est un peu pour imager ça. Donc, aller vers la recherche, elle aussi, c'est ça qui est devenu le premier challenge. Vous êtes d'accord avec moi?
Oui, bien sûr.
Voilà. Donc, maintenant, on a dépassé ce sphère de la femme qui participe au développement communautaire, de la femme, les femmes entrepreneurs, hein, les femmes commerçantes, les femmes dans beaucoup d'organisations et de métiers. Et là, c'est un autre stade parce que c'est une nouvelle porte vers la femme politique. La femme politique, moi, je la définirais comme étant celle qui traduit toutes les actions de développement par son engagement à ces actions à faire, parce qu'on s'engage politiquement, on donne une orientation politique pour développer un pays. On ne fait pas de la politique à côté pour développer le pays. C'est lié, vous voyez? Donc, que cette nouvelle femme accède à la sphère politique, le Comorien traditionnel n'était pas préparé à ça. Mais il est en train de l'accepter, plus ou moins, et d'ailleurs, moi, je donnerai un exemple qui a été très révélateur parce que il y a à peu près un mois de cela, il y a une femme qui est engagée politiquement, très engagée politiquement, et qui a été victime de violences vraiment basées sur le genre, la violence sur les réseaux sociaux. Mais vraiment, nous, on a compris que c'est sa position politique là qui est recherchée à être bafouée. Et donc, il y a eu beaucoup d'actions de dénégation. Vraiment, cette femme-là a été vraiment lynchée sur les réseaux sociaux par des gens qui étaient derrière et que moi, personnellement, et beaucoup de gens ont compris que c'est parce que cette femme, elle se trouve dans la dualité politique. Le fait qu'elle s'affirme politiquement, eh ben, là, elle commence à gêner. Et donc, quand bien même, elle a eu le courage de porter plainte sur ce harcèlement et il y a eu un jugement. C'était une première parce que même cette plainte, quand elle l'a portée auprès du tribunal, il y a des voix qui se sont dit, mais pourquoi elle va se salir? Alors qu'elle ne va pas se salir, elle va chercher à rétablir sa personnalité, sa dignité, son honnêteté, parce que des gens ont décidé de la mettre dans la boue parce qu'elle commence à s'affirmer politiquement. Donc, elle a porté plainte, elle a eu le soutien de toutes les femmes comoriennes, elle a eu le soutien même des hommes comoriens pour que ça serve de leçon cette, cette, cette manière de descendre quelqu'un, de tuer quelqu'un à travers les réseaux sociaux et particulièrement une femme. Elle a, on a applaudi parce qu'elle a eu gain de cause, elle a eu gain de cause et on espère que ça va servir de leçon pour tous, hein, parce que maintenant, descendre quelqu'un sur les réseaux sociaux, c'est devenu chose facile. Maintenant, il y a même des lois qui sont en train de se préparer pour ça, mais aussi, j'espère que ça va implicitement agir en faveur de la protection de la femme dans le cadre de la violence basée sur le genre. Voilà.
Merci. Merci beaucoup, Honorable. Merci, c'est très éclairant. Mariama, someone has asked, and this is our last one, and then we close. Takawira has asked, tell us about how you've engaged in fighting against electoral violence targeting women, both online and offline. Maybe you take 1 minute, Mariama?
Well, in the IEC, we have not started that yet. But any political party that we know that there are campaign ethics that we put in place for all political parties. Okay, so any political party that is not going in line with the campaign ethics, we make sure that we call you back and we try to talk to you to address some of those concerns. If you do not address it, then you face the consequences of your actions. That's what we do. Because you sign the campaign ethics, you sign the code of campaign ethics before even you going out, before the nomination. So during the campaign, and then when you start bullying or you bullying other candidates, then we call you to address it because we don't like to take the full force of the law. We just try to address it internally with you and see if it is going to stop. If it is not going to stop, then we give you the penalty. But that has never happened yet. Yeah, because we try to talk to you at least.
But that's when you're dealing with political parties in Banjul. Imagine a politician or even citizen in Australia, a Gambian in the US, or even somewhere in South Africa who is engaging in online violence against women. How do you deal with that? Because I think the context has become much more complex, that even just those code of conduct that we were used to signing with political parties and so on, it's like they don't work. They are useful, but the context is much more complex, that we need just more strategies beyond the code of conduct, because you can't oblige, for instance, those Gambians who are out 5,000 miles away from Banjul to really, sign a code of conduct, but they'll engage in online violence because of the global village of the information environment within which we work on. Yeah.
Okay, I believe the National Human Rights Commission is working on that because we were invited for a training on hate speech and trying to address hate speech within the community, within the Gambia here. And there is a law of not insulting people online because we've seen a lot of audio circulating, insulting people online on Facebook and everywhere. So some of those things have been, there's a law now barring everyone from insulting anyone online bullying, to stop cyberbullying.
Thank you. Joy, you have something to say? Just in 1 minute,
Yes,
then I
thank
close.
you. Just something to add regarding gender-based violence and actually what we've been doing as 50-50 in Lebanon. So, of course, laws aren't actually being enforced. And what we saw helped was shaming them on social media. I'm sorry to use the word shaming, but actually talking about the issue on social media and raising awareness on this issue, naming the people that are involved has helped so much if you do know who has been involved. Because social media is a tool that we need to all use for this specific reason exactly. People will stop trying to be put in these positions so that no one talks about them on social media platforms, especially when it comes to gender-based violence. So maybe that's something that you can explore, Mariama. I hope it was
Okay.
helpful.
No problem then. Okay.
Thank you. So we just have to come to an end, I think, because I see the numbers are now going down. But this discussions has been quite rich. Thank you so much, Joy. Thank you so much, Mariama. Thank you so much, Honorable Sharifa. We are so grateful for your insights. It's always good to have comparative insights from women who have been in the theater, in the field, not just speaking from a theoretical perspective, but they have engaged with these issues relating to inclusion to ensure that we can strengthen our institutions and processes to build democratic resilience. So thank you so much. There's a lot to learn from this. We have a recording that we are going to be sharing with everyone so that you can circulate to your partners, your colleagues that who may not have participated. I also want to say thank you for each and every participant who has made time to come and join us today. This is just part of the conversations, a series of conversations that we've begun to under the program of democratic resilience. And so we are going to have more series in future. And we hope that you'll also participate to continue to contribute to the discussions. Thank you to everyone. Merci beaucoup. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much. Salam. How do you say
so
that?
much.
Joy, how do you say in Arabic?
Shukran.
Shukran. Shukrani. Shukrani sana. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Radamensh.
Bye.
Everybody.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye
Thank you.
bye. Yeah.